Okay. So what I was saying, just to share with you what's done, the overview on ATMPs in Catalonia, from research to clinical adoption. So I am Nuria Gavalda, and I am the strategy director of the ATMP platform at Blood and Tissue Bank in Catalonia, Banc de Sang i Teixits. And I briefly added this sentence because I think this is an issue that really matters among a lot of different issues that they were tackled this morning as well, because we really need to think and to develop ways to rapidly translate the research into a safe and scalable clinical adoption to the healthcare system, and also that these therapies arrive to the patients, which is the main goal of all of us. So I'll start with a brief overview, and I guess most of you know, so I'll try to skip this a bit quick, given the audience. And as you already know, Catalonia has become one of Europe's leading ecosystems for ATMPs. So we are supported by strong biomedical research institutions, university hospitals, and vibrant and dynamic biotech sector. We are recognized outside of our region and our country for our research capabilities in different fields of research, and especially as well for CAR T-cell therapies. We do have prestigious researchers, key opinion leaders, and we do have examples of success stories, for example, in hospital exemptions from the hospital clinic with the RE1 for acute lymphoblastic leukemia and RE2 for multiple myeloma. So I'll share with you briefly the slide that together with Montse Davant and some panelists we put together for the Advanced Therapies Europe last year in Barcelona, where we try to show the different elements that have built both the Spanish and the Catalan ATMP ecosystem. So there are 5 pillars that we think that we are that they are strategic and they are very, very relevant. One is the clinical trials. So we do have in Catalonia specifically really impressive infrastructure and patient recruitment capacity with a robust health system, and with a lot of what I mentioned before, professionals, collaborations between us and between European and international in a setting. So we do have proof of concept manufacturing capacities for ATMPs. We do have the example of hospital example, as I mentioned. We try to find some shared risk and paying for performance payment. And then also there are health registries that we try to build, and in the sessions in the morning that they were referred to as well. So we have a strong landscape on science, and to accelerate this science with top researchers, high output, and a lot of healthcare professionals in the field. So we are one of the leaders in EU funds. We have a strong position in non-dilutive funding. We have relevant industry partnerships, an attractive pipeline that I'll show you later, and then it's growing the volume, the round volume of the companies that they are involved in ATMPs, and we really attract quite an international capital in funding. And then we have different accelerators programs or connected programs that they connect different strategies. There are actually national strategies and regional strategies. Regional, I would say, or national as Catalonia. So, for example, the ATMP Catalonia that I'll show you briefly later, and you already know, so I'll skip this also quite fast. And also programs that they accelerate, or trying to accelerate and accompany different companies to accelerate these products as the ATMP catalyst that they are doing in BioCat. So this is kind of an overview of what we can do. From the Catalonia bioregion report from BioCat, and as you all may be aware, we are in Catalonia leaders in clinical research. So there are 156 active ATMP clinical trials at the moment in Catalonia, and this is corresponding to 51% of all the ATMP trials in Spain. And we've been growing the number of clinical trials over the last 10 years. So we do have 20 clinical trials led by Catalan institutions, and we do have a lot of quite an impressive pipeline, mostly academic driven, although there are also different companies, and they are developing these different therapies. But as you can see here, around 45% are in phase 1 and 55% are in phase 2. And this is only for the clinical trials development. There's also a lot of research that is done with in the hospitals and the research center that is not in here, but this research is the base for them to enter to clinical phases, and this is also from the Catalonia report. And this was shared by Robert Fabregat this morning. So ATMP Catalonia, this is something that the last 2 years has really boosted. And I think this slide is impressive in terms of what we have accomplished in Catalonia. A lot of different entities, from therapy developers, pharma companies, manufacturers and suppliers, service providers, and investment firms and venture capital in the ecosystem. So is growing, and this is an example on, for example, related to CAR-Ts in Spain. And this is something that we have to look for this, because this is it's not the future, it's the present already. So the total number of CAR-T applications per year up to in June 2025, sorry, in Spain, is growing, as you can see. And in the chart below, you can see the cumulative total number of CAR-T applications. So since 2019, and from the Informe Anual de Terapies Avanzadas of the Ministry of Health in Spain, you can see as well that at the moment there are 29 centers that they can administer this type of therapies for adults, and 11 pediatric centers. And in 2025, 5 more centers were recognized throughout the territory. So this is something that those therapies and the research behind not only CAR-Ts but other therapies is growing, and we have to be, in one side, prepared to access these therapies to patients, and another is that we really need to invest in innovation and research and help researchers to enter to the GMP phases, and then to the clinical trials, first in human mainly. So the manufacturing capacities here in Catalonia, they can be summarized as you can see here. So there are different centers that we do have manufacturing clean room facilities for manufacture ATMPs. At the moment, there are 26 clean room facilities, and the near future, we'll have 29. This is clean rooms for production specifically, and it covers around 750 square meters in total. In the future, I mean, if you can see these numbers in brackets from Hospital São Paulo, now it has one clean room, and they are building extra rooms that they're gonna have 4. And Bio is building the two clean rooms. So there are 4 hospital-based manufacturing capacities: San Joan de Déu, Hospital Clínic, Hospital São Paulo, and Bio, the Institute of Oncology in Vall. There are 2 lentivirus CDMOs, Creatio and Gene Vector, and there are blood and tissue bank that we do have 9 clean rooms dedicated to manufacturing facilities. And we are also linked to the apheresis departments or services in the Catalan territory in 13 different hospitals where we do have we do obtain the apheresis for all the territory except the hospital clinic that they're doing these apheresis themselves. So, for example, in blood and tissue bank, we do have as a SOHO establishment, we are a reference model for the cellular starting material for CAR-T manufacturing, both in clinical trials and commercial clinical trials. So we do have a hub and a spoke organization where we do have the apheresis departments in the different hospitals, and then we collect the cells and we send it to the pharmaceutical companies, and they're gonna manufacture the ATMPs. So this is for the CAR-Ts, and you can see here that since 2016, over the years, between clinical trials and commercials, we collected almost 1,000 cell collections for these types of activities. Also from manufacturing platform point of view, and this will lead to the discussion, and what I'd like to show you is that there's the research done either at BST or the hospitals, research centers, and then we start into the fabric, the manufacturing platform. So we develop all this the process, and we need to certify. We need to be certified by the regulatory agency, in this case IAMS or the EMA, to manufacture a specific type of product where it enters to the GMP process and the manufacturing to manufacture the final product that it will go to the patient. For the BST, we are not based in a hospital, so so we do receive the apheresis, we manufacture, and then we send it to a hospital. And as I said before, there are different modalities that nowadays there are some hospitals that they do have the clean room facilities themselves, so they can manufacture in the same settings. This is important that every platform that manufactures this type of products has to have support services, critical, and that they have to be approved as well for the R&D, especially for the quality control, quality assurance, a lot of different engineerings to set up all these infrastructures, and very important, the regulatory knowledge that I will enter later as well, to navigate, right, to help to navigate into this manufacturing and clinical adoption. Very important as well, all the facilities to storage all these ATMPs, and at BST, for example, we do have a big storage facility for either commercial or clinical trials products. So sorry. So that would be like a bit of an overview of what we do have, but I also wanted to share with you that obviously there are some challenges from research to manufacturing and clinical adoption. that we do share with our colleagues from the European level. And there's this paper recently published, I think it's a few days that it was released, from our colleagues from the Joint for ATMP, which is a roadmap for supporting the development of ATMPs in a European framework. And I'd like to highlight this specific paragraph because, and this will lead me to what I wanted to share as well on challenges and main bottlenecks on this process from research to clinical adoption. So the academic institutions and the small SMEs are the main drivers of preclinical ATMPs development. So we are a pool of innovation research centers and hospitals. So around 60% of the clinical trials in phase 1 are done by academic in an academic setting. So we do have a lot of innovation. And sometimes, I mean, there are a lot of promising preclinical results, but many of these academic ATMPs may fail to progress to clinical trials, mainly due to limited resources and lack of knowledge on how to go through or navigate the complex regulatory pathways. That this morning as well was a couple of interesting presentations about regulatory challenges that they are very, very important to tackle from the beginning of a development of an ATMP. So I've tried to summarize some bottlenecks in transitioning first from research to manufacturing, and then for clinical adoption and scaling up. So some of the assessment of ATMPs, the preclinical assessment, may not be fully addressed by conventional frameworks. So sometimes the current regulations may rely on what we have done before with conventional drugs or predictive animal models. So sometimes this is insufficient. So we find that some of those models are not enough, or we do need to look from another angle, and sometimes this can delay the entering or the production of these therapies. What we encounter, and this is something that I guess is shared with other colleagues, is that it's very difficult to transition from academia to manufacturing and clinical translation, because sometimes a lack of funding and in the infrastructures needed for the clinical development and manufacturing. So sometimes the funding that researchers have is to enter to a first in human, but there's a lot to do before the entering to a phase in first in human, is to validate, to have your process developed and the technology transfer from research to manufacture. And this is something that it costs a lot of money, and sometimes and it takes a lot of time. And this is not to be underestimated by the funding agencies, that sometimes they fund projects that may seem to be ready, but in reality it will still have some time to go. And this is something that maybe a bottleneck in order to keep going in this development. So, and we face as well that one of the challenges is the integration between research, manufacturing capacities, and clinical practice. This transition is crucial in order to design a proper clinical trial based not only on obviously clinical safety and maybe clinical evidence, but also taking into consideration all the manufacturing issues. And if you sometimes if you locked in a process that you're gonna manufacture in a certain way, this is something that later, from a regulatory point of view, is going to be very difficult to change. So also, as I was mentioning before, sometimes the grants, there are short-term grants, the academic timelines may not be aligned with clinical development, and fragmented funding may lead to somehow discontinuous engagement. So also there are a lot of complexity in the GMP requirements. ATMPs, as you may know, they require highly specialized GMP infrastructures, environments, traceability systems, quality controls, potent CSAs. So all this is something that when you think on going to develop this type of therapies, you have to be also taking into consideration on where are you going to do it, how you're going to do it, which is the team involved, etc., and the infrastructure that can give you support on this. I mentioned as well that sometimes the process of manufacturing may evolve from research to clinical phases. So sometimes it's a challenge to show comparability and consistency of the manufacturing of these products. Sometimes, and I'm talking from a public entity or CDMO, we tend to over-customize processes. It's quite manual, and this needs to be shifted to more automated systems, and shifting as well to more from product-centric customization to maybe process-centric standardization. So standardization is really one of the key issues or actions that we should envision for not for the near future, not for the large term. And also another main bottleneck is the need for highly specialized personnel. So developing expertise requires a lot of time to capacitate the staff on this transitioning, hands-on experience, continuous training, not also on manufacturing, GMPs, regulatory. So all this mix of different profiles and the expertise that is needed. This is something that we also should tackle in order that the system has enough people that they know and they are expertise in this field. And then some of the bottlenecks in clinical academic development and the scaling up, it would be regulatory hurdles. I think this is something common everywhere. So what we face as well is that it's really necessary, and it should be a must to have scientific advice from the regulatory agencies from the beginning, together with clinicians, with researchers, and with manufacturing, the center that is going to manufacture this therapy, because this is something that can delay the translation and sometimes academic settings. So the experience and the expertise in regulatory issues is not really spread. So it's important that we do have, and you do have expertise from people that they are really into this. So then, as I mentioned as well, the availability of funding, and then the infrastructure limitations and manufacturing scale gap. So sometimes in manufacturing, in academic manufacturing sites, so as I said, you do have a process approved, etc., but they are not designed to scale up and to reach broader number of patients. So this is something as well that is very important, that we implement models. Passing to the next bottlenecks, the necessity to implement different models, or co-investing models, or public-private partnerships, and a structured transition to commercial CDMOs that they can scale up these therapies. And finally, standardization and decentralization manufacturing. This is really, really important. We really need to look for standardized methods, standardized platforms that can reduce cost on manufacturing, can reduce also logistics complexity, and then they can improve the scalability, and finally that we can reach more access, or they can have more access across regions. I'm not going to go through the detail. I know you're going to have the slides. So there are different models and different adoptions, different EU countries. So in terms of different manufacturing models, or reimbursements, hospital exemption, access, which roles between public and private modalities. So for example, here in Spain, we really rely a lot on hospital-based and academic manufacturing. And for example, we do have the hospital exemption, very regulated by the Spanish agency, and there's a strong public health care role in this field. For example, in Germany, they have a strong decentralized and hospital-based manufacturing. They may have different interpretations for more flexible interpretation for hospital exemption. And for example, they are very good at speeding the access of those therapies into the patients. Or for example, our colleagues from Sweden and ATMP Sweden, so for manufacturing, they have mostly centralized specialized centers. They maybe not use the hospital exemption, or they have limited use, and the speed access to those therapies may be moderate. And so there are differences between EU countries, and they are all valid, and we all have different, we all have common bottlenecks, as I mentioned before. This is for Catalonia, but they apply also, some of them, to European level. And some of these bottlenecks and the actions that I will show you in the next slide. And this morning that they have been also mentioned different relevant frameworks and mandates that we follow, and we think that it would help. They will help to smooth this transition from research to clinics. So this is some examples. And if I would have to pick some actions for the next 24 months based on the bottlenecks that I was mentioning, so I would say, and based as well on the paper that I mentioned before for the joint for ATMPs, for example, is to define by the regulatory agencies a minimum set of standardized parameters and corresponding models customized to specific ATMPs that they will help to guide the progression to first-in-human clinical testing. This is something that it has to be done together, so it's not at level of each center. Also, I would say that this priority to define some harmonized ATMP-specific requirements and validate alternative in vitro or in silico models. So regulatory agencies have to face that there are different options now. There may be different options in order to accelerate these innovative therapies, and also develop some guidelines for GMP simulation and GMP-like production facilities. What we see now, and for example, an example on blood and tissue bank that we are designing and building a pre-GMP facility, because it is very important in order to facilitate, accelerate, and to adopt this research, is that we do have some kind of settings that they are not, they are less restrictive than GMP facilities, but we can test certain things, and then we can then, when this is validated, so you can go and manufacture it under GMP facility. So I think it's needed to have some guidelines on these facilities as well. As I mentioned before, establishment of standardized platforms, and also advocate for funding programs and dedicated to what I mentioned before. There are funding programs for research, there are funding programs for clinical research, but there are lacking funding of this valley of death that is between research and clinical research, so which implies a lot of effort from researchers and healthcare and the community, the research community. So I would put like this action at least that we could advocate. I don't know, I guess that you know, the health department of the Ministry of Health in Catalonia, where that together with the Research and University Ministry, they a couple of years ago, they so there was the news that there's going to be the program on advanced therapies. So this is a program that BST, Blood and Tissue Bank, coordinates. So with the aim on having some funding programs specifically for research, clinical research, and this transition to clinical adoption. So this is something that in Catalonia is now reviewing and is now under discussion, and we hope that we can launch these funding programs very soon. So this is something that we should advocate for these funding programs.